Jai Hind students. This is the third part of the chapter power sharing. Till now, we have done the main important topics like the definition of power sharing. We have also we have learned about Belgium. We have learned about Sri Lanka. And from both the countries, we have learned about their ethnic composition. Ethnic composition means how the country is actually constituted with the population. What are the diversities of the country? In Belgium, we have already dealt what was the problem with the ethnic differences there and how the power sharing became a very big problem for them. And also, we have studied about how the government in that country tackled the situation of differences and conflicts. And if you can identify this picture here, we have dealt in the first video, sorry, the second one. It is the, you can also write in the comment section, this is the European Union. This was the symbol of peace in Belgium, which was done because of the solution which was taken by the Belgian government, and we have learned it, we know it as accommodation. In the previous video, we have learned accommodation contains 4 steps, and I would like all of you to quickly revise the previous video's content after this video so that the topic is well clear to you. Now in this video, students, we are going to learn about Sri Lanka. In the first video, I have already explained the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Still, you can look at this map. It talks about the majority composition of the population of Sri Lanka, which is the Sinhalese. We have the Sri Lankan Tamils, we have the Indian Tamils, and we also have the religion practiced by these languages speaking communities like Sinhalese or Buddhist, and also Sinhalese, they practiced Buddhism, and the Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils, they were both the Hindus and Muslims, and there were 1% Muslims in this area of the country, which is red marked. And also we have seen that the country had 7% Christian community. But the main problem which arose in this country regarding sharing of power, it was because that the Sri Lankan government, they were very much biased towards the majority community, which is this Sinhalese community. And in the previous video, I have informed you people, what do we call it as? We call it as, in terms of political science, majoritarianism. Majoritarianism is the word which we have learned, and today we are going to understand what is majoritarianism and how it created a problem in the country Sri Lanka. So now we will quickly check first what is majoritarianism. Okay, so majoritarianism is a belief that the majority community should be able to rule a country in whichever way it wants, by disregarding the wishes and the needs of the minority. So who were the minority in Sri Lanka? The Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils. In short, the Tamils, who were 18% populated in the country. And how this majoritarianism was practiced by the Sri Lankan government. We will quickly look on that. Now, this majoritarianism, it was an act which was passed in the year 1956, and it was done to recognize that Sinhala is the only official language. Now, students, you need to be very careful about these keywords which I am underlining here. This will help you to remember the key terms, and you can explain the content if you have understood it well. Hence, the first point says that the majoritarianism was an act. It was act. Whenever this term act comes, it means it is a legislature which will be passed in a proper protocol, by maintaining a proper protocol. So in the year 1956, an act was passed, and it was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. And if you remember, Sinhala was the language which was spoken by the majority community. So hence proved, the first point proves that the government, it was biased towards the majority language speaking community. The second majoritarian step, the government followed preferential policies. The word preferential is itself a very biased term. So the government followed some preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. Now this is very interlinked. If your position is reserved for university to get higher education, and how it will be reserved on the basis of the language, which is Sinhala. So if you are not learning the language, you cannot get a reserved seat in the university to get higher degrees. And if you are not getting higher degree, hence you are not eligible to get the government job. Hence this is very interlinked, and very systematically the government tried to promote the Sinhala speaking community, and they tried to disregard the wishes and the needs of the minority community, that is the Tamils. Now the third one. The third practice says that a new constitution stipulated that that the state, now state here is the government, state shall protect and foster Buddhism once again. Now this is a very important uh, issue, I would say, which creates conflict in any society. Whatever is the issue, it can still be bearable, but if it comes towards religion, people becomes irate. So what happened, the minority communities here were forced to follow Buddhism. And if you see this map once again, which I have pasted here, the minorities, they were Hindus, they were Muslims, they were Christians, they were 18%, they were 7%, and they were now forced to leave their religion, and they were forced to follow Buddhism. Now if you go back to your previous classes, you might have studied something which is known as communalism and secularism, which is a feature of a democratic country. Obviously, secularism, if your country is a democratic country, your country cannot force you to opt for any religion. Sinhala, being a democratic country, still the government forcing the people to leave their religion and follow a different religion, which is obviously not practiced by them, and unwillingly they had to forcefully accept that religion, which will create a chaos. And hence in this way, by these three ways, we can understand that how the Tamils in Sri Lanka were continuously ignored by their government, and the majority community was preferred by the government. Hence, we call this as majoritarianism. I hope this is clear with you all. Now we will check the second thing. Now, this is the issue of Sri Lanka. Remember, the issue was there in Belgium also. The Belgium got their solution through accommodation. Now we will quickly see what happens in Sri Lanka. Issue clear. Now we will see what happens if how the government tackled the situation. What exactly took place. So if the Tamils are disregarded, they will not sit quiet. They will obviously ask for their deserving demands. They will keep demands towards the government. Now we will quickly check what are the demands that the Tamils make. Now, what was the problem? The problem was regarding the university position. I have informed you right now, university position and government jobs. So this the Tamils, they now continuously started demanding towards their government to give number one, Tamil, the deserving respect of official language. So they did not say that don't make Sinhala the official language. They said Tamil should also be the official language along with Sinhala. They also demanded for the university positions that it was as it was given to the Sinhalese people, the universities and the government jobs. This was demand number one. So the first demand which was created by the Tamil, this was these two. Along with this, they also demanded for the regional autonomy. Now, what is regional autonomy? Regional autonomy means if I am living in this particular area and we are in majority, we would like to form the government in this particular area and we will not interfere in the rest of the country. This is known as the regional autonomy. This demand was denied by the government. The first demand which was made by the Tamil was denied by the government. The Tamils, they did not lose hope. They went for the second demand. Now, if first time the demand is not accepted by the government and for the second time they are going for the demand, obviously they will not go with the same demands. They will keep few of its demand, but their majority, the main focus would now shift. So what did they ask for their second demand? It was around now the year 1980. You need to remember few dates for this. 1956 was the first date of act passed of majoritarianism, and now 1980. So by 1980 there were several political organizations which started to form, and these political organizations, they now demanded for an independent Tamil Elam. Elam in Tamil, it's a Tamil word. Elam means state. So now this Tamil, they along with the previous demands, they now demanded for an independent Tamil state, independent Tamil Elam. They now wanted their own area where they would not allow Sinhalas to interfere and not they would like to interfere in the Sinhalese region. Now, what do you think? How the government would react? The government here reacted in a not in a neutral way as it was done in Belgium. Here, the government was still very much rigid with the decision. They denied their second demand, and after denying the second demand, the government, they were now afraid of the civilians. They thought that these Tamil civils, they will now start rioting in the cities. They will start protesting in the cities. It will start chaos in the city. So before the Tamils would do any sort of mass protest in the country, the Sri Lankan government, they announced for civil war in the country. This civil war was between the Tamils and the Sri Lankan government. Hence, what happened? The power sharing, do we see any sort of sharing of power in this particular case study? No, the government was not ready to share any sort of power, and the government, and because of this decision made taken by the government, it created a civil war situation in the country. We will quickly compare now. We'll quickly compare and see Belgium and Sri Lanka. Belgium, Sri Lanka. Power sharing. Did it took place in Belgium? Yes. Did it took place in Sri Lanka? No. Solution. How the power sharing was done? Through accommodation. Was there any solution in Sri Lanka? No. What was the result of this? Civil war. So this is how we come to the end of the case studies of both Belgium and Sri Lanka. I would request the students to go through all the three videos carefully. Then if you have NCRT, go through NCRT app if you don't have your book and read till I have explained it to you. I will be sharing the worksheet with you also. Go through the worksheets, try to find out the answers of the questions given and read the NCRT book thoroughly. Thank you.